Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to the plenary event this afternoon. Before I introduce the moderator of the event, I was asked to say that you've been provided with forms that you are kindly asked to fill in and leave on the desks. So leave them where they are once you fill them in. Let me introduce the moderator of this afternoon session. Simonetta Pippo. She is Director of the Observation of the Universe Department at the Italian Space Agency, and she is today the chairperson of the ESA Program Board, supervising the programs like the Space Station and the Aurora Exploration Program. But she was also one of the founders, one of the initiators of the Aurora program in Europe, after having been the founders of the International Mars Exploration Working Groups and the International Lunar Exploration Working Group, of which she has been elected at the latest ILUC meeting Vice President. Simona, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I would like to, first of all, welcome all of you to this very important event, important at least for us. It is a great honor and pleasure for me to chair this plenary session that brings together the leaders of exploration programs all over the world, and I must say from the most important space agencies. First of all, I would like to introduce my distinguished panelists. First one is Wang Wei, Director of the Foreign Affairs Department of the Chinese Space Agency. Then Virenda is the Vice President for Science, Technology and Programs at the Canadian Space Agency. Then Daniel Sacotte is the Director for Human Spaceflight, Microgravity and Exploration at the European Space Agency. Dr. Suresh, who is the Director of the VCC Center of ISRO, the Indian Space Agency. Then we have Kiyoshi Iguchi, who is the Executive Director of JAXA, the Japanese Space Agency. And then Cooke, Deputy Associate Administrator for Exploration at NASA. And then Alexei Karastalyov from the Russian Federal Space Agency's International Office. You see from this, let's say, panel that what we would like to do is really to give you the feeling of what we are doing all over the world in this field. They will have no more than 5-6 minutes each. And the reason is that after this presentation, we would like to give you the possibility to pose questions and to ask for, let's say, real long-term understanding of what international cooperation means for us in this long-term challenge and endeavor. The timing of this plenary is not a coincidence in a certain sense. As we have resumed building the International Space Station, space exploration is regarded today by most space agencies as the next big step, let's say the next logical step in space activities that will further our knowledge and enable our presence beyond lower orbit. At national and also the international level, plans for the robotic and human exploration of our solar system are shaping up. Because space exploration is an endeavor that no nation can accomplish alone. That's my feeling, by the way. Each individual plan is being formed, taking into account the international context. We all understand that sharing information about each partner plan is not sufficient anymore. We recognize that all parties involved in space exploration can benefit from a greater degree of coordination as a prelude to a structured cooperation. I represent here today a nation, Italy, that has made space exploration a strategic cornerstone of its space policy, both through a national program aiming at the moon, and within ESA supporting in a leading position the Aurora program, with Mars as the main target destination. In Italy, we appreciate the value of international cooperation for having conducted many successful exploration missions, like, just to make an example, the Cassini-Huygens mission. An ambitious and global exploration effort able to open up a new age of exploration calls for an effective mechanism of consultation, coordination, and eventually cooperation among all nations. This will represent a key element if space exploration is to be sustainable through changing political environment and programmatic difficulties. Then, building on the International Space Station experience, we wish to involve as many players as possible behind the common goal of a global, sustainable, and long-lasting space exploration effort. It is for all these reasons that major space agencies, all represented here in this panel, and along with many more, have initiated a series of talks and discussions that led in the creation of a working group, which has been reflected since several months now on the definition of a strategic framework for global space exploration. This framework should outline a set of shared goals and drivers for space exploration among nations, our nations, and create the conditions to set up a light but effective coordination mechanism that will lead eventually to the establishment of a global open architecture, keywords, as the first step for a more structured cooperation in space exploration. Other keywords, cooperation in space exploration. This plenary event, for which I would like to thank the International Astronautical Federation and its president for the opportunity, provides the occasion to present to such a distinguished audience the status of major space agencies' plan, as well as the talks on the global strategy we are doing during these very days, and will lay the foundation for the collective work in the decades to come. So, thank you very much for your attention in this first, let's say, my first remarks. And I would like now to give the floor to Zhang Wei, the Director for Foreign Affairs Department of the Chinese Space Agency.
Okay, so distinguished participants, I prepared the PowerPoint slides, but I was asked in 5 minutes to introduce all these issues again. But I think I'm trying to do that best, to let you know some new aspects in China exploration side. I prepared the 5 parts, but I will focus on the from C to D to E. That's the history. I will just show that. That's what we've done before. For the space the development goal, we show that we have some in 4 areas. One is the space astronomy and solar physics. And the second is we are doing some work in the solar terrestrial space physics. That's the next. And also the third is solar system exploration and research. And finally is the microgravity science and the space life science. So we're doing that in this 4 directions. But here we mentioned some target for next following 5 years. I will show some programs in the later. That's in the exploration we are carrying out that Chang'e, that's in Chinese name, but the lunar satellite will be launched next year. We have some objectives. We think it's the 4 points is mentioned that some lunar surface image is the first objectives, and also analyze some material and elements on the lunar, and also the soil. We think it's not exactly the how to measure the steps until now, so we put that on the target, and also finally we're trying to understand the environment problems from Earth to the Moon. That's the main objectives for the first lunar satellite. And the next is we're planned the hard X-ray modulation telescope to study the sound X-ray, and also try to find some more the black hole. That's very frontiers topics. And also we're trying to develop some detailed studies on the dynamic behaviors and high energy radiation process to understand that what happened by this telescope. And this will be this program will be carried on in the next 5 years. So we think we can do that launching by 2011 or 12, around that, to get us a peak study years for the sun and also the deep space. Some others is also. And we are trying to use our recoverable module mission, and we are planned in the 1 or 2 satellites with the returnable payloads to do some research. But before that, we always do that in the piggyback way. You have a question? Okay. And also we are participant in international cooperation in these areas. And the next mission is we're planning for the after the 2010. It's a new. We call it the QUAF with a Chinese name, but we're still to choose a better name for that. That purpose is to understand what is for the prediction on the scientific objectives and to detect technologies from the sun exploration. So it's composed of the 3 satellites. This show maybe it's better. One is in the Lagrange 1 point is 1.5 million kilometers away, and 2 on the polar orbit around the Earth to connect it to a constellation working together to detect the sun's wind. So I'm going into the roadmap section. We have that 3. It's mainly the 4 working. Space astronomy and solar physics, that's we're concerning that. And the next is space physics exploration. And then the primary subjects by the recoverable satellites, where I mentioned like that, we're doing that more. And capability improvement. Okay, sorry, I just show that roadmap. From the black hole to the sun and that. And also some space physics exploration, some key problems we mentioned here. I'm not explain that. That shows them the mission roadmap from now on to the 2025. It's quite free in between that. Also, that's different policies. We are making to realize the roadmap. We are making some specially policies, but the main idea is to encourage our industry to do their independent innovation, and also at the same time we hope we can cooperate in the worldwide with our partners which are interested for this common scientific objectives and to do that same thing together. Thank you. That's all.
Now, Canada.
Good afternoon. Since time is short, I'll be very brief, giving you an overview of what Canadian interests are and what capabilities we possess to contribute to the exploration program globally. Our objectives are, as the first bullet in this chart shows, science-driven, technology-enabled human exploration, and all three components are important for us. First of all, we want to have scientific knowledge generated through our participation in these missions. As I said yesterday, we have key technologies, and we like to continue remaining at the forefront of those technologies and utilize those technologies in the exploration mission. And we believe that the human element of exploration is quite important, even though sometimes you can do things robotically. We can never totally duplicate all the skills of human beings. And for that reason, we believe that that should be an element. And we also believe that this element will allow Canada to have Canadian astronauts carrying out scientific missions, which lead to many other benefits in every country. Raising awareness is one, but inspiring next generation is one of the important goals. So because of that, we have established these three as the first level of filter before we decide what we do in exploration. Using our technology, we'll prefer to get some role in the robotics, I'll describe what I mean, general robotics area. We have some expertise in instrumentation, in some of the sample analysis, SAR technologies, communication technologies, and using those technologies, we'd like to put some instruments on Mars and Moon. And as I said, we like human in the loop, so somewhere astronauts from Canada being utilized in this process. Just to give some examples of where we are in robotics and how we have established a niche role. As you know, the space shuttle had Canadian robotic arm, and it provided good service for the last almost 30 years, 25 years. And we have provided big arm, we call Canada Arm 2 on the space station, and we have another dexterous manipulator called SPDM, and now we have named it Dexter, which will be launched next year. And this will provide the capability of almost replacing EVA activities. It will have the capability of opening nuts into space, and astronauts will not have to go out, and this capability will add further dimension to what space station astronauts can do. They can do more science rather than just maintain the station, so we hope this will contribute. Our vision system has contributed towards the docking of various systems in space. We have special expertise in LiDAR, which we can use for tracking objects in space and as we approach them. Two of our technologies, XSS-11 and Orbital Express, have been demonstrated on space servicing missions. And again, it's rendezvous and docking related technologies. As most of you know, the space shuttle after reflight has utilized the extended Canadian arm. It's a bit like dentist mirror, it can now go underneath the shuttle and inspect it. And it also utilizes the three-dimensional laser camera. So some of these technologies have proven that we do have expertise in robotics and could be useful for future exploration mission. In addition to that, the space station operation of radar set 1, SciSat, has given us added capability of operating missions in space, and some of those can also be utilized for having a role in international missions as far as operations is concerned. And as you can see, sorry, I didn't change this. As you can see, some of these areas where we have provided, we have developed these capabilities. These are the areas we feel we can effectively contribute, and some of them are actually there. We have already decided to contribute. On the next Phoenix mission to Mars, we will be contributing what we call the weather station on Mars, and it will also have a laser system which could look at the particles and cloud profile along with measuring temperature and other parameters of the weather. We have also decided to participate in Mars Science Lab mission, and there will be a sample analyzer which will be provided by Canada. We have decided to participate in the ESA ExoMars mission with a small contribution. And our private company MDA has already built at least a breadboard version of a possible rover which could be part of ESA programs or future programs. Because of Canada is big on resources, so some of the companies have developed drilling technologies which can be very effective in deep drilling on Mars and Moon. And we have been developing these technologies so that they become space qualified for future participation. Rendezvous and landing based on laser technologies. Again, we can map out the terrain in which these vehicles are going to land, so they do not land in places where the chance of success would be low, so they can predetermine the landing sites. And Canada being so much north, the weather and climate is so harsh that it does provide some opportunities to develop sites which are almost similar to Mars, and some of the technologies can be proven. As far as international exploration is concerned, Canada is participating in the NASA-led exercise of developing a global exploration strategies. And we like the idea, which is similar to what GEO has evolved, which is system of systems, so each country can contribute, and combined achievements would be bigger than one country's. So we continue to support that activity. And in closing, I think we support global exploration, both in its spirit, and we hope will contribute to it, and we definitely support international collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Daniel Sacotte.
Thank you, Simona. I will stay in my chair just to avoid 20 seconds of loss of time. So in 5 minutes, it's very difficult to present our strategy, but I will try to make it. Basically, the strategy of European Space Agency relies on two elements. The first one is the International Space Station, and the second one is the Aurora program. Starting by the International Space Station, we first are very happy on the fact that the Space Shuttle is back and the ISS development is back on track also, and it gives us a lot of confidence for the future, because we plan to launch Columbus, a fantastic laboratory that has been developed in Europe. It is planned now to be launched next October by the Space Shuttle. And it will make the start of a very important program of utilization. A large part of utilization has nothing to do with exploration, but let's say a part, something like 1/3 of activity, can have direct link with exploration. So we are not moving our priority, but we consider that the field of exploration is growing in importance. Together with Columbus, we are developing the automated transfer vehicle, which is a very, very complex development. It is made in order to give service to the space station in terms of deliveries of goods, in terms of reboosting, and in terms of waste management, if I can say. It is. We plan to have the first flight of the ATV, the one called Jules Verne. When we say Jules Verne, you notice that the 100th anniversary of Jules Verne has been passed a little bit, so our launch of ATV also. But now it is planned for the middle of next year, and we are making all the efforts, and it is not something easy to keep it at the middle of next year. Together with those two developments, we have, of course, a lot of flight of astronauts on board the space station. We have Thomas Reiter, a European astronaut of German nationality, to be politically correct, which is flying today. It will be followed by a flight of Christer Fuglesang, which is from Sweden, then Paolo Nespoli from Italy, then Hans Schlegel, Germany again. Maybe we will have another flight during just after the receiving of the Columbus Laboratory on board the space station. So space station is important for us because it is a bridge to exploration. In the field of exploration, the Aurora program has started before the vision of President Bush concerning exploration. It was a roadmap that was going up to the putting man on planet Mars with a very logic series of steps. Inside the Aurora program, we managed to have the first big decision, which is the ExoMars project. ExoMars is made for robotic exploration of Mars. The goal is to try to discover past or present trace of life on board the planet, on the planet Mars, or lower in the or under the surface of the planet Mars. It is presently in development. We plan to launch it in 2000. I will not say 11, but 2013. Decision has still to be officially taken, but we are shooting for 2030. The next step, and it shows that the priority that is being given by our authorities in Europe is to concentrate on the robotic exploration on Mars. The next step is participation in the Mars Sample Return, but it is a long-term goal, and probably we will be making a gap filler in between. The next point is the moon. We consider that the focus on the moon that has been put by NASA in particular, following the political will of the President of the United States, is something important because it will totally change and radically change the landscape. And in this respect, we are playing on three basic aspects. The first one is to participate together with a certain number of agencies internationally competent in order to develop a common reference, what we call the reference architecture. We are working on that. We are not the only one. The second point is to help creating a coordination mechanism, because such a program is something on which we need to also be creative in terms of international relations, and we have a lot of activity. And we are preparing a certain number of elements that we plan to bring to the moon exploration system. One of them is participating together with Russia to the crew transportation system, the so-called CSTS, for which we are just arriving to a decision those days. But we also develop a certain number of technologies. I've shown that I have -1 minute to talk. In the field of environment control, life support, energy, etc., etc. Just to conclude, say that Europe wants to be a key player in the field of exploration, not because we are good friends or just because we are willing to do that because it is fashionable, but we consider that we are entering probably, if everything is developing, in a new cycle of space activities. The first one that started in the 40s, 50s, started with exploration of closed atmosphere, robotic exploration of planets. Now, if it is planned on an international ground to fly and to settle human in space, it will create a lot of new changes on the same side that the economic changes that has happened after the first cycle of space development. So we consider that it is an absolute necessity for Europe to be, if not the key partner, one key partner. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Suresh.
Good afternoon, distinguished fellow panel members, distinguished delegates and friends. I am very pleased and honored to be here to contribute for this plenary on behalf of Indian Space Research Organization. As all of you know that space efforts all over the globe today, they are focused towards three important areas, if not more: utilization of space for benefit of mankind and society, planetary exploration and to build advanced technologies and systems in a cost-effective manner to meet these demands. Of course, when we talk about the advanced space technologies, we have complexity involved, it's expensive, and we have budget constraints. Under these conditions, as spacefaring nations, it is imperative that we pursue the joint global cooperative efforts to make this space exploration a sustainable endeavor. Of course, ISRO has been pursuing this activity in a proactive manner very effectively. Today we have cooperation with more than 26 countries. Since the time is premium, I don't think I have luxury of spending much time on many of them, but I would like to focus just 3 or 4 areas. The one important area, I think, as all of you know, is the Chandrayaan-1, which is slated for launch sometime in 2009. Here, the major science objective was that to provide high-resolution remote sensing data of the moon in UV, visible and infrared regions, essentially to get the 3D mapping of the moon as well as the chemical mapping of the surface. And of course, to excite the young minds in space and planetary sciences, that is the objective. And of course, depending on the spacecraft resources, we sort of asked for the opportunities, and we are very happy to see that. You can see there, in addition to the 5 experiments that India is putting, we have several more from ESA, Bulgaria, USA. In fact, all these payloads are meeting the objective that we have set in with respect to this particular Chandrayaan. Now let us just move on to another important area of the satellite navigation. We are sort of trying to introduce our own GPS-aided geo-augmented navigation system, you can see, which is called Gagan, and it will be fully operational by 2009. We are working in collaboration with the Airports Authority of India. And as you can see, this will become a very valuable addition to the global efforts in the area of space-based navigation. And in fact, you can see that 82 degrees east, around that, it has a very wide coverage, almost covering the entire Indian subcontinent. Of course, another area, I think we have a very big constellation of Earth observation satellites, and of course, quite a few more in the coming years. But what is important is how are you going to share with the international community this IRS data? In fact, you can see that in cooperation with EOSAT and space imaging, we have made enough effort, and you can see the coverage that we have. We have end-to-end operation strategies like coordination of the space segment, standardization of the ground segment, cooperation in sharing data, as well as contribution to GEOs, CO and UN efforts. Another important area is the satellite building. In fact, this provides the competitive edge for the global community, and we have quite a few number of them which are in hand. Again, for want of time, I'm just highlighting 2 of them, which in collaboration with Antariksh, which is the commercial wing of ISRO, along with the EATS Astrium. You can see that there are 2 satellites which are sort of configured, whereas we build the satellite bus, whereas the payloads will be built by the European agencies. These are the 2 important. This also has led to further cooperation in defining a satellite, which for Altica and Argos, that is Ka-band altimeter, as well as the data collection platform called SARAL, to study the oceanographic parameters. It won't be out of place if I mention the megatrophics. ISRO's ENAS collaboration is another important contribution to study the global precipitation mission in the country. Of course, another area I think all of you know is the disaster management support. This is important. And what is the kind of international efforts that we have? In fact, we have spread our wings, as you can see, from one end to another end. In fact, apart from the UN initiatives, what you see with respect to our own region, we, I think, participated very strongly in UN NOSA as well as the UN COPOS meeting, disaster management, one of the action teams I think we led. And in fact, for the DIMISCO as well as the formation of the Spider, I think we have made a very significant contribution, giving the various inputs at appropriate time, both scientific as well as the other managerial inputs. Of course, we are also a member of the International Charter on Space and Major Disaster, and also we have megatrophics itself is going to contribute towards the GEOs. In fact, we are also contributing towards the GEOs and CEOs. Of course, this is just to show you that International Charter, what it means, and what you see as the red is our participation in a good network and the kind of the satellites that they are involved in this, just for the information I have put here. Of course, as far as the launch is concerned, we have more than, we already launched 4 satellites very successfully using small spacecraft using our own PSLV, and we have more than half a dozen, but I don't have space to list there, but I have given a few of them for your information, and few more are slated for signing the contract with the Antariksh Corporation of India, which is again a commercial wing of that. So to conclude that while we have done so much, there is much more potential for the future cooperation with ISRO and the global community. One is, of course, we need to strengthen our cooperation with respect to interplanetary exploration. I think all over the globe we are looking at it. We need to do that. And then we will certainly pursue the joint efforts for sharing the Earth observation inconsistent with, I said, that utilization of the data for the benefit of mankind. I think we need to look, particularly with reference to the African countries where they need this kind of help. We are trying to look at it and then see what best can be done. And as far as we are concerned, I think you have heard that ISRO has utilized the space application program very effectively for societal benefits. We have the very wide teleeducation. We have our own EduSat, which connects more than 10,000 nodes today. Telemedicine, which is very well connected the metros and the rural areas. And also we have introduced very recently Village Resource Center, that is one-stop window, which will provide all needed vital data for the rural population. Space-based data, ground data, they are all available. It has been already established. What I would like to say is that this unique experience we are willing to share with the global community. I am sure it will be very useful. Of course, we will further continue our joint cooperative efforts in spacecraft and launch services. Thank you very much.
Dr. Iguchi.
Good afternoon. I can't speak so fast, like Indian guys. But still I have to keep the 5 minutes limitation. Okay. Let's start my presentation by showing our achievement related to the solar system exploration. Right hand side, two comet flyby missions, and the right hand side, the one lunar missions, and one Mars of the probe, and the last one the asteroid probe, which is successfully landing and land off to picking some samples that right now is coming back to Japan. Not Japan, the Earth. And next item is our overall strategies. We have two intentions related to the space exploration. First one in the expanding the scope of the human activity. The second one is generating the new knowledge. Based on this intention, we have two ways to explore the solar system. One way is to go to the moon, including human exploration. And second one, to go to the asteroid and the other solar systems. To moon. Let me show you a little bit in detail. We'd like to take some step-by-step approaches. Our first step is to investigate the lunar as detailed as much as possible. Not only for the scientific purpose, but also for the utilization of the moon. And then we are trying to propose that our human being exploration to the moon on the lunar surface. And let's pick the next one. So this is the first steps. This is quite a logical way. And we have a serenological mission series. First one is Seren, one is to investigate global mapping like Chinese plan and Indian plan and NASA, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. Probably this is one of the most biggest missions, and we would like to investigate what is moon as detailed as possible. And second one, landing and rover and land mission. Okay, give us some signal, only 1 minute. And the future, we'd like to work together with robotics, friendly. Robot is not enemy in Japan. And to solar system, we already have several planetary exploration missions to Venus and Mercury, and series of the asteroid exploration investigation. So, and JAXA already decided focusing on concentrate its activity on primitive body exploration and magnetospheric exploration with advantage in its advanced capability. Because, of course, we need more discussion, and scientists might propose another way, but we right now want to propose this way. And last topics, how to cooperate international cooperation. The president of Korean Space Agency, Dr. Peck, taught us the new word, how to cooperate. International cooperation means competition and cooperation. He told me someday, international activities is competition. Then based on this competition concept, I'd like to have our own Japanese plan and seek to cooperate with the international partner. Finally, one of the human being's strong point is diversity. We have already a lot of activities related to the international cooperation and exploration. You can just, we have 6 groups of initiatives. Then keeping the diversity, the point of international cooperation is how to integrate and consolidate our activities. Then I'd like to propose our workshop to pursue that way in Kyoto next early year. So I hope that workshop proceed good progress of our cooperation, does not hope to another diversion. Thank you very much.
Cooke?
Thank you. It's a privilege to be here with you today to talking to the international space community. I should first say that I'm here in place of Shannon Dale, the Deputy Administrator of NASA. She was unable to come to be here with us, and she sends her regrets. For us, we've been planning for human exploration beyond low Earth orbit for many years. It became a reality when President Bush provided the vision for space exploration in 2004, and it was followed last year in 2005 with the Authorization Act that was passed by the Congress and signed by the President. During this time, over the last year, we have made a lot of progress. At this point, we're on track to completing International Space Station, to retiring the Space Shuttle in 2010, and we've had an activity in place that has produced a definition of the transportation architecture that we are now beginning to implement. And we are moving ahead with the programs that will implement these developments. We have, over the last year, we put in place programs and projects, program and project offices that are developing the requirements that are beginning the developments. We have also begun to put contracts out to develop the transportation infrastructure. In August, we awarded Space Act agreements for the commercial orbital transportation services effort with Space Act agreements to SpaceX and rocket plane Kistler. Also in August, and just the end of August, we awarded the crew exploration vehicle contract to Lockheed Martin. And this was very significant for us and historical, because this will be the first U.S. space vehicle to carry humans into space since the development of the space shuttle. We also have contracts out for the first stage, the crew launch vehicle, for the J2 engine that will be used on the upper stage. We have contracts in planning and will be put out on the street early or within the next year for the upper stage work, as well as for EVA hardware. We have the Lunar Robotic Orbiter project that is underway. It has gone through preliminary design review and project confirmation and this year, and is working toward its critical design review. The overall constellation effort, which is the human spaceflight part of our effort, is going through the systems requirements review right now. So there's a lot of progress underway. In parallel to that, we are working with the international community to develop a global exploration strategy. This began in April of this last year with a workshop that was held in Washington, D.C. It was attended by 14 space agencies. And we began to develop this global strategy, which is meant to develop a strategy to go for humans and robots to go to the moon, Mars, and beyond. We've been through that was an activity that was underway, but since then we've had a number of telecons to follow up and iterate on what came out of that workshop. In the workshop and afterwards, we have been refining themes for exploration and objectives for what you actually do on the missions to the moon. These have been refined. We had a follow-up workshop in Simonetta that was hosted by ISA and ASI. We had a workshop to refine the objectives that was hosted by Canada in the first part of August. And we just went through a session and workshop in Rome that was hosted by ISA and ASI to develop and draft a framing document that will frame the approach for international cooperation in this exploration effort. So it is at this point an international effort to develop the strategy, to develop the context of participation so that we can move forward together. Just to give you an idea of the themes that are involved in this, one is to prepare for Mars exploration by humans. Another is to pursue scientific activities to address fundamental questions of the solar system, universe, and our place in it, to extend and sustain human presence in space, to strengthen and expand our global partnerships, to innovate and contribute to sustainable economic development in space, and to contribute to and sustain public inspiration, education, and welfare. These are the areas that the objectives fall into. There are 23 categories of objectives, and we are going to culminate this initial activity with a exploration conference in Houston, Texas, in first week of December. We'll have follow-on activities. We are beginning to plan for an exploration workshop in Japan. We have in parallel activities going on with the science subcommittees of the NASA Advisory Council to get a scientific input, and there will be a workshop in late February. So as you can see, there is let me make one other point on this. We are also having iterations on the objectives with the space commerce community, so that we are getting all the communities that are interested in space exploration involved in this process, so we truly have a global exploration strategy over time that will evolve. So, as you can see, this is an ambitious effort. That's an international effort, and we are very encouraged by the participation that we've had by the international community, and we are looking forward to for that to continue as we develop the framing document, as we develop the strategy. We understand that not everybody is on the same pace or schedule for development of exploration activities and programs, but so part of this effort is to have a flexible approach that allows commitments at different times in the development and operational aspects of exploration. So once again, we're very, very pleased with the participation and encourage continued support. Thank you.
Russia?
Thank you. So, time is running fast. Then I will prefer to begin with enumerating Russian current programs which are closely related to this topic of space exploration. Within our current space program, we have 3 specific scientific missions and 3 specialized programs. The specific missions are I won't place them by time. I will place them by geography. First, the lunar mission, Lunar Globe, to be launched in 2012, and there will be a lander. A Phobos Grund mission. This is a sampler return mission for Mars satellite Phobos, and it will be launched in 2009. And we also have a Venus D program for an orbital station circumnavigating Venus, and the mission will be launched in 2016. Talking about programs, these are Advanced Crew Transportation System Development. These are technology experiments on board Photon M spacecraft and medicine experiment on board Bion M spacecraft. They will hopefully provide enough technologies, enough knowledge for future human missions. As to strategy, that's difficult to talk for Roscosmos because, recently our Prime Minister, Mr. Fratkov, explained what the strategy is. For the time being, we don't have what he explained should be a strategy. But I can talk about some conceptual plans that our industries are developing now. I believe these conceptual plans could be a good basis for elaborating a real exploration strategy. First, the lunar experimentation which will start by Lunar Globe, will be continued. After the lander, there must be a rover, and then a sampler return mission, and then a laboratory base on the moon. Our industry plans to implement this program within 2012-2020 framework. As to Mars exploration, a sampler return mission is also envisaged, and it may be implemented somewhere between 2020 and 2025. For the period of 2016-2025, there will be new phases of advanced crew transportation system development. Then an expeditional complex will be sent to the moon in 2020. The industry suggests that will be just the time to start to build a lunar orbital station for providing for transit and of other transportation systems. The development of a lunar habitated base can be started at about 2030. After 2030, a service model to be placed in one point could be envisaged. Under the human mission to Mars can take place if everything goes well, according to the assessment of our industry in 2033. And all of this can be done in cooperation, and even for this initial stage, we already have strong cooperation with ESA on the Advanced Crew Transportation System. Hopefully, our participation in ESA ExoMars program will be detailed very soon too. And we do international cooperation with our international partners on board the ISS, because of standardization of docking and integration techniques, demonstration of advanced technologies, engines, energy models, large construction is also a good example for international cooperation. And I would like to thank NASA for facilitating this global exploration initiative, the development of a strategy. We will be participating very, very deeply. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So we have not so much time remaining, but I would like to open the floor for at least a couple of questions from the audience. I have one there. You should have in front of you. No, it doesn't work.
Not working. You mentioned that you are including the interests of the international community as well as commercial entities in your exploration strategy. But I was wondering if you were aware of some recommendations given that were the outcome of the next generation exploration conference that was held at NASA in past July. And if so, are you also taking those into consideration now?
Okay. The question has to do with a workshop that was held at NASA Ames with the youth who are interested in space exploration, and we only had a short period of time, so I didn't mention everything that's going on. But there was that workshop, and that was fed directly into the work that's going on. So it is definitely a part of this activity.
I have one question here.
Does this work? Doesn't work. Okay. My question also to Doug Cooke of NASA. You mentioned the 14 nations involved in the exploration initiative and the many workshops you've got going, and the most recent in Rome. My question is are any of the major space powers not in the 14 nations that are fully involved in this? My second question is, and I don't mean this to be touching a sensitive subject, but you talked about the exploration goals and Mars and Moon and so forth, but will this framing document also include clear boundary conditions of the tech transfer and political sort, so that everybody's aware of the rules going forward? There are some things you can do with, for example, Italy that you can't do with China. Everybody knows this. But to eliminate confusion, will your document feature some of these restrictions?
We do have all of the major space organizations involved and others in this process. The framing document is in draft form. It still has a ways to go, so we're not complete with that yet. We obviously have to address the issues that you brought up. I'm not sure they'll all be a part of this. Otherwise, this is probably a more top-level general approach to international involvement and participation, coordination. If we got down to very specifics, we might not ever get it accepted, but by everyone. So we want to move forward. But as a part of the workshop, for instance, we as we were developing themes and objectives, we were taking in the comments along the lines of the constraints and restrictions and laws and that sort of thing that affect collaboration. And so those are all collected, and we are going to continue to work on those. They may not all be captured in that document, though, but they are. That we recognized even going into the workshop that was going to be an important area that we'll have to work over time to work out a lot of those issues.
Thank you.
I had two questions. One for Mr. Zhang. Could you say if China is participating in these workshops, and to what extent. And then for Roscosmos, you mentioned Russian participation in ExoMars. Could you be a little more specific?
Yes, for the Mars exploration is really is in our future plan, but we're not decided in which way, but we're mainly looking for the international cooperated. If possibly, maybe the Russians program is a good chance, but we are not decided yet. So we hope so.
As for Russian participation in ExoMars, so by the time being, there has been one successful meeting on energy units, and we have, if Daniel allows me, a proposal from ESA, and it will be responded very, very soon, and then we could specify together what Russian participation could be.
Okay.
With lessons learned from the ISS and other major cooperation projects, or based on your national policy, what would be the various agencies' minimum percentage in cooperation or utilization in a future cooperation effort in exploration?
Thank you for the confidence. What we try today in this in the new type of cooperation we try to set up is first to find a mechanism on which we will be all together in the same project, but trying to not to have strong dependence. And it is the first point. So robustness is something important. Another point on which we have to we have started to discuss is also the fact that the different partners could have will not have exactly the same right in the future. It is obvious that the one which is bringing the most in this new project will have a role a little bit different from the other. It is something on which I think a major partner cannot be blocked by the other. So it is something we have to consider also. What we try to do is in order to advance, is to first, what I was saying, is to set up a common reference. And the common reference is to know what will be the architecture of the future exploration or any future scenario for exploration. To make it clear, we need to have a transportation system. We need to have at least two. So the reason for which NASA is involved in one of the two, and don't want to cooperate, which is an answer to one question of Peter de Selding, but we consider that one is not enough, and we cannot block, if we are all together in exploration, we cannot be blocked by the fact that one transportation system is not working or facing difficulty. That's the reason we are putting as a key element to have another one, which is today the CSTS led by the Russian, on which Europe and Japan are willing to contribute. But it's not the only point. After that, if we want to go to the moon, we will need to consider that we are settled on the moon. We will need to have an intermediate station. Will it be the space station? Will it be a station in moon orbit? It is something that we have to define and to agree. Then we will need to have system that will support in orbit the life on the moon, which is telecommunication, but not small telecommunication. It is telecommunication of up to date, I will say. It will be observation, it will be space surveillance, it will be navigation, it will be a series of classical systems on which we need to, and then we will have the part that is on the moon itself, which will be made of course, all what is needed for habitation, but also energy, activity, life support, environment, control of pollution, etc., etc. So all that today is to be defined, and what we try to do together is to fix a certain number of standards, a certain number of agreed interfaces, a certain number of subjects that will be necessary in order to cooperate. And then the real question will become who is making what, which will be a good point for the policymakers, because we can be interested in some case. Let's take energy. Energy on the moon is something absolutely basic for all activities on the moon. Today, we have just touched the point, but at least Japan, Europe, and I think US have said, I have some interest for that. So we will have to discuss together and to see the way it will be organized, the way it will be developed, and the cooperation if possible, and if not, the way we are going on. So it's we need to have a system which is robust, which will survive to a certain number of minister, president, politician, because we are working on a time period of 50 years. That means that we have to be a little bit inventive in those way of cooperating in the future.
Thank you very much. We don't have additional time for questions or, let's say, to continue the discussion, which is a pity because you probably understood today that in a certain sense we are a team, so we are trying to go all together in a certain direction, putting all the effort we can and the support we can on this long track all together. So I hope that this main message has passed through the main presentation you got today, and I hope that this is only the first step of other events we could organize all together to give you the feeling of what we are doing on the long track. So thank you very much and see you soon. Ciao.